So me and Mike Clifton tonight would like to talk about hmm
One's people who don't see clearly.
people that don't see clearly. Did I say that right? Clearly.
Just how you doing?
People that don't see clearly. Like people, that don't get the bigger pictures and stuff, Like, everybody's perspective is important and the little things do matter, but at the end of the day you have to keep the end in mind. And not a lot of people do that. And it's like you gotta understand a good example. You gotta understand why you're in school. Like you're in school, you have to get an education, and you have to get a profound job. But you don't only get educated through school. You don't get educated through your social life. You get educated culturally. You get educated economically. You get educated emotionally, spiritually, and eventually you should become an intellect. Now, with that being said, you don't go to school to get a job. You go to school to make yourself a career. Now, what do you have to say on that, Mike?
A lot of a lot of my fellow classmates out there. See, it's hard to even pick a certain point to start on this topic because a lot of my fellow classmates out there and young people alike don't realize that there's only certain things and certain occupations within this world that's going to make a 4 year, $40,000 a year education worth their while. One, and that lies under two categories. One, that's if you're getting paid lots of money, close to six figures, some up there. Two is if you're not getting paid that much, but you enjoy your job, you enjoy what you do, and you set out to be the best at your job, regardless of the regardless of the curriculum or the standards in which your job is set up around.
But that's the issue. Is it a job or is it a career that you're looking for? Or are you working for somebody else's idea or are you working for your own?
How many of you out there? How many of you out there are willing to 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 seek the career, to seek the passions in your life for as a lifelong career, and or push yourself to be very successful educationally?
Good example.
And being don't get this screwed up. Being successful educationally is not just graduating with any type of a degree. Successful Graduating educationally successful is graduating an intellectual. If you go through 4 years of college and you graduate and you haven't become an intellectual, you haven't become a self-sufficient thinker, you haven't become you're not able to stand on your two, think on your own two, for you, which is like a lot of people who I know are about to graduate, which is sad. And you've graduated and you failed because college isn't about turning papers in. It's not about getting that last assignment in, learning how to do it last minute. College is about learning how to become an intellectual. and to apply that in the real world. But until you get out of college, school is your real world. That's all of our real world. It's my real world right now. Here it is. But don't let that be your whole world, because as soon as you get out, the real world gonna hit you. Turn up.
But the thing about that is, why do people look at school as in it's not a real world? It's school. It's an institution. It's where people go to learn. It's where people really determine what they want to do in life. It's also another. It's also another administration that takes time for people to develop as adults. So the issue with that is, what if people never really develop it as adults? What if people never really become their true self and they graduate? Now that's an issue. Because you have people that graduate from a 4-year institution, 4-year college, and they're still immature. They're still not fully educated. They're still closed-minded. They're still closed off. They still have emotional issues. I mean, like people that major in business and communications. You know, the real skill set you need to perform well, just to master those degrees within those fields, is to be able to talk to people. Is to be able to inspire new ideas. That's basically the gist of those fields. It's bringing something new to the table. But yet those corporations that hire new graduates from, colleges with business degrees or communication degrees, they really look for you to fit status quo. A lot of corporations and companies that you give out a resume or application to is like, what can you do for us? But what college students need to think of graduating and coming freshmen from high schools need to think of, what can these institutions do for you? How can they make you a better person? What can you learn from them? That's why I definitely appreciate Liberal Arts College, because you can come across anybody that know anything around here and really get into a nice intellectual conversation about a lot of things. If you don't know your rights, you have political science majors here. If you don't know government policies, you have people that's majoring in politics. Just in general, you have people that understand business. And nowadays, it's more important to be good at a lot of things to be great at one thing. And not really find out what you're great at and graduating college is an issue.
That's the thing. That's the thing with a lot of you. A lot of you are too afraid to become to become great at a lot of things because it's possible. Too many of you are too focused on becoming mediocre at one thing. That it sounds just as insulting as it sounds. It is just as insulting as it sounds. Too many of you are too focused on becoming mediocre at one thing, focusing on other things that don't matter, that won't mean anything in the long run. Too many of my classmates, too many of my fellow associates,
your brothers, your sisters,
the ones that I look at all around me that in a sense represent me.
Define you, Mike. What is the idea behind you?
The idea behind me is explore and be curious at all costs. Because exploring and being curious is 9 times out of the 10 that's the drive behind people being themselves, behind people expressing themselves for the people that they really are. Now, a lot of people are too scared because of the eyeballs that's watching them, because of the people's opinions, biased opinions most of the time that surround them, to be curious and explore. How are you afraid to be curious and explore in a world full of exploration and curiosity? Too many young people out here, too many of my classmates, close associates, are too afraid. How are you afraid and you're still young?
I mean, like, it's easy to teach fear to young people.
Boss up.
It's really easy to teach to be afraid of the unknown. And sometimes you might not know a person from a different culture or a different sex group or just all around different general. Just a different mindset, a different background. And people may look at difference as fear, as something to despise. When the only thing that's consistent in life is change. When everybody around you is different. You know, you become different. The person you are when you come into college should be different from the person you are when you graduate. Now, if you staying the same after 4 years, there's an issue. If
You didn't explore and you weren't curious.
Now, with that being said, these 4 years can be for anything. You don't have to go to college and be different from the person you came in. Even in high school, the person you go into high school should be different from the person that comes out. The person that gets into an argument should be different from the person that leaves out of that argument. Because the goal of having an argument is to have a different understanding. Two understandings coming across. It's a conflict transformation. And if you're not transforming after the conflict, then you're just repeating the same conflict. You know, I have an issue with people that spend hard-earned money on shoes or clothes. And you're right. I don't have the right to tell you what to do with your money. But at the end of the day, invest it. Think wisely, financially. Think in the long run. You know, as a 21-year-old, you know, I have to think responsibly. Like, I want to get married one day. I want to have kids. I want to have a house. I want to have a car. And all these things cost money. Now, with that being said, I don't have all these things, but I know how to get them. And that's the issue. Because you can give a person a fish and they can starve to death. But if you teach somebody how to fish, they will eat forever. You tell somebody how to get money, they will never go broke. But if you give somebody money, they can be homeless. And people don't understand that.
How many of you out there? How many? Yeah. How many of you out there are gonna leave your friends homeless? How many of you out there are too weak-minded to inform your fellow peers of what could possibly save them in the long run from a life of distress, from a life of struggle? knowledge that you possess, but are you strong enough, are you wise enough to give it to them in the time that's necessary for them to be able to think about it and apply it in their life? It takes wisdom and it takes courage to be able to try to preach this to people who don't want to be told to do by somebody their own age, by one of their friends who they think knows no better. Too many of you are sorry excuses for college students, sorry excuses for young educated people, and I'm not targeting a specific race, because I know a little bit of somebody in every race, girl, female and male, that fits this category of what we're talking about. What I'm saying is, stop being afraid. So many of y'all, especially the males, y'all walk around like y'all so dominant, y'all so this, y'all so that, but you're scared to receive knowledge and scared to give knowledge, real knowledge. So knowledge that someone would look at as something important that they should hold on to, that they should use, something that they should something you could plant the seed into somebody's mind, and that they let it blossom and use it.
Now, two things Mike said that not really disagreeing with, but I'm going to elaborate on. Yes, it is about preaching it, but it's also about teaching it. It's also about living these lifestyles that you quote unquote tell everybody to be about. Money, cars, clothes, popping bottles, multiple women. Like, be realistic with yourself. That's not going to happen. It probably won't happen to most people that chase after it. It probably won't happen to most people that dream of being in a league. I'm not trying to crush your hopes or your dreams or your vision for yourself, but it's more so, think bigger. It's the bigger picture. You're more than just a person that can have multiple women. You're more than a person that obtains shoes, materials. You're more than an entertainment. You're more than just an athlete. You're an intellectual. And another thing I'm going to not really disagree on, but elaborate on. I'm going to speak on the African American male community.
Do it.
Because I am African American male. And all I can do is just advise my brothers to really
pay attention.
To stop being afraid. To really stand up. And I'm not talking about standing up physically. I'm not talking about standing up emotionally, but coming to terms with not only this country, but this world and how they view us. Coming to understand that, how many African American scholars do you know compared to how many African American celebrities, superstars, athletes? How many books have you finished compared to how many trophies you have, or how many women you slept with, or how many pairs of shoes you have?
Pause.
Just like, come to terms with that. Come to understand that you're not just worth a paycheck. You're not worth $8.25. You're more than that. When you understand that you're more, that's when you understand the bigger picture. Not a lot of people understand that.